Well, the intro doesn't sound as good the second time around, but technical difficulties, here we go. Episode 123, Joel Fleischman Happy Hour Podcast. We are on location here in Amherst with two young individuals, and Mitch Mallek and Tyler Mater, guys who work in the fishbowl. They don't call it the fishbowl, just everybody else does, or whatever else it is. So guys, welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, thanks for having us.
We have a happy hour podcast. We don't have any happy hour beer. However, we did a lot of sunflower seeds today.
Yeah,
they were good.
So, solid.
Yes. So I guess having you guys on, why don't you guys just start kind of an intro of background, what you guys are currently doing here at Drexel, and how long I guess you've been here at Drexel. So I guess we'll start with Mitch first.
I started with Drexel in 2020 with the merger from Blinker. Currently, I am the panel estimating leader here. Work with Tyler, Chad, Curtis in the quote-unquote fishbowl. So that's currently where I'm at here at Drexel.
Tyler?
Tyler Mater.
Mater. Oh, man, I thought it was Mater. There's people out there that have, like call it Mater? Okay, my bad.
I've been here at Drexel for 4 years, going on 5. It was right after the merger from Blinker. Like I said, work with Mitch, estimator. I started here out in the shop framing, and then moved on to quality out in the shop. Did that for a while, and then up to the estimating world.
So what did you guys do prior to Drexel? I guess starting off with Mitch, like kind of just give your background after you finished college. Like what did you all do? I guess you mentioned you became part of the Blinker merger and everything like that, but what was kind of your background leading up to things?
Yeah, so straight out of college, I was hired by Blinker Building Systems as a project coordinator. And then, so I was hired there in 2019, and then the merger was 2020. So it was only about a year of doing PC things with Blinker, and then slowly transformed into Drexel.
Okay. Tyler?
Right out of college, I was kind of working for a durable medical equipment company. We were bringing in hospital beds, all that kind of stuff to people and dealing with Medicare. Then it was R. Donnelly in Plover. They assembled diabetes kits. I was a assistant there, and then a account manager there. Was managing a few accounts, and it just didn't work out. All sorts of things there. So wanted just to go a different direction. And my brother-in-law does construction, and I'd helped him out a few times. So just kind of wanted a completely different swing of things. So I went to apply here and was able to get in.
Nice. I guess, what's it like? So you have both of you. Obviously, Mitch is leading the panel estimating team. Then there's Tyler Mater, not Mater. And then there's Curtis Verhagen.
Yep.
And Chad Konkol.
Yep.
So what's it like with the four of you? I know that things have changed over the years, Mitch, right? Obviously, different people have shifted around out of that room. You've been the main constant. But I guess from your perspective, what's kind of that dynamic like with you guys in there?
I don't know. I think it's a good dynamic.
It is.
It's 4 pretty different personalities that all just make a well-operated team and vibe in there, at least from my perspective. I don't know about you, Tyler, but it seems like not only work-related stuff, it's just like what we're bullshitting about, right? I mean, it all kind of just flows well. Everyone's cool with what anyone wants to bring up, what we're talking about. I don't know. At least for me, I think it's a good vibe in there.
So what, going back to, you said 4 different personalities. In your eyes, what would be those 4 individuals? What would they be associated with?
Chad,
like who's the lead dog? Like if somebody's going to stir something up, get under somebody's skin, or like just bring energy to the room, that's
Curtis and myself.
Okay.
Mostly Curtis.
Yes.
He will bring all sorts of energy. Let's call it that.
There's nothing off the table.
No.
Does he bring facts, or is it just all fictitious stuff?
I mean, I fact check him quite often. I mean, I gotta hit the Google machine every once in a while. But as far as Chad, I think Chad would be very to himself without Curtis. So I'm glad that Curtis, is on board now, because he brings a lot out of Chad that I think Chad might just keep to himself if Curtis wasn't there, right? And which isn't a bad thing at all. But I just think each one of the personalities in there brings something more out of the other. So I think it's really cool.
And what does Tyler bring to the room?
Tyler's kind of like the moderator, quote unquote moderator.
So he'd be a good podcast host.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're kind of the middleman where you bring reason to when the other parties aren't really aligning, at least from my perspective. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that assessment of all the room?
I would. Chad is definitely a little bit more to himself. However, Curtis is, like I said, there's nothing off the table with him, and he will bring up whatever, whenever, and a lot of times I look over and all Chad's doing is shaking his head.
Yeah.
So it's a good time. Everybody fits together well. We all do stuff outdoors, so that definitely helps too. Brings a little bit of
Connection.
similarity to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. What is, I guess I'll start with Mitch here. What is one thing that drives you nuts about Tyler?
One thing that drives me nuts. I don't have anything off the top of my head that drives me nuts. Maybe you're too nice. That's probably what it is. You don't gotta be so nice. Sometimes you gotta tell
Like
people.
you just want him to take a stance
Sometimes,
and just
yeah,
die on a hill on
yeah,
something?
Sometimes. It doesn't hurt to just
I've heard that before.
get
So-
after somebody once in a while, right?
Tyler, what would yours be about Mitch? We didn't talk about asking this question, so a little on the spot here.
That's
Clearly
right.
flawless.
Flawless. I would probably say, oh boy. Honestly, I don't know.
He doesn't talk too much about his baseball career?
Not too. Probably both Sitka. There you go with that.
Oh, yeah.
Just brings up Sitka all the time.
He brings up what?
It's a hunting gear brand. And he become a fanboy, whatever.
He gets the referral points on it? Is that what he gets? It brings it up a lot?
He must have a microphone in there or something.
Next question.
I guess in your day-to-day, doing panel estimating, what, I guess just for the rest of the team here, what does that kind of look like for you guys on a day-to-day, on a normal day-to-day? And then also after that, what kind of challenges do different plans, different things bring, maybe just frustrations during the day that, again, maybe it's out of your control or it is in your control, just things that you're like, dang, this is what we kind of get hung up on, or when this comes about, it just takes longer.
Yeah, so I guess what we do on a day-to-day, typically we get a scope of work and a plan, right? And then from there, essentially we're putting together an offsite package, at least a dollar amount, and giving a number back to a quarterback to go try to sell this thing. So I think what can be frustrating is just the information we're given, right? If there's not good information in, there's probably not going to be good information out, right? So I would say that's the biggest struggle. But with newer QBs, you're going to see that, and I think it kind of falls back on us, not so much them. To pick up the phone, connect with them, coach them up a little bit. Like, hey, this is what we need to see. This is why we need to see it, and move on. If you got hung up on every missed little detail, you'd have a pretty bad time. You have a bad time throughout the day. So I think just pick up the phone, connect with someone, ask the question, and take
How many phone calls do you think you're making in regards to that a day, roughly? Or a week?
I'd say a handful, probably.
Handful?
Handful, yeah. 5 to 10, depending on the projects and their size and complexity.
Sure.
Sometimes they're bangers, and it's just like, what you're getting in, they know what they're getting out, and it's quick, pretty hands-off, no phone calls. Other times it's, like I said, a new quarterback sending in a plan for a new builder that we've never seen before. Their specs are completely different, so that one's going to take up a little more time.
That was going to be my other question, is to ask about like working with like Heartland Custom Homes or some of these people that have done a lot of offsite things with us. Assuming once you get those pain points out of the way and you start going through, like it becomes kind of like a glove where it's just like fits easily, and then like you said, kind of the newer ones or people that do one-off stuff here or there makes it maybe a little bit more difficult in that way.
Yeah, for sure. At least for me, there's some builders and plans that I don't even really have to look at the scope.
Really?
It's just you know what they expect. They know what they want from us, and it's pretty easy in, pretty easy out. So I don't know about you. What do you think, Tyler?
I would agree. There are potential newer quarterbacks or just certain builders where we get plans in that there's not a whole lot of information on them, so we're making more phone calls to the quarterback, trying to get some more information, or if the SOW isn't filled out quite right, just to get more information from them is probably the biggest thing we have to deal with. That might be a little bit more of a pain than normal.
Yeah. This might be an ignorant question on my point or my part, but what is there ever a true consistency with what is not filled out correctly on the scope of work? And the only reason I ask that is because obviously I dealt with editing that scope of work a lot in the past, but is there ever one area, or is it just always dependent on maybe someone who's filling it out, somebody who the builder is, it's just always different? Like, or is there one area that really you guys get hung up on a lot where it's like, man, this one always seems to be kind of the pain point, or not really?
The biggest one that I've seen is when you, if you have the slab poured after, then the non-bearing basement walls, whether they're going to be done by our set crew on like a return trip, or if it's going to be done by the builder, and if that isn't shown in there, or if they don't have a note for that, that's usually where you have to get a hold of the quarterback.
Okay.
That's the biggest one that I've seen usually, where I have to get a hold of them for.
Right. There's just a few more layers when it comes to offsite, because you have the labor, the field labor side of things. Whereas a stick project, you're kind of just assembling. Not that I'm taking anything away from that, but you're assembling a material list, right? And here, at least, when we're carrying the labor, it's not just the sticks; it's the shop labor, the field labor, all those components. So every selection on the scope and work has a meaning for us, at least. It's not like we're just putting them on there to check boxes. So
sure. I guess as you guys are doing kind of those estimates and things like that, is there any plans you have dove into that you're like, man, these are really cool, or they really get you guys fired up and kind of geek you out on kind of plans and things like that? Or is it just even some simple ones you're like, oh, whatever, it's easy to kind of go through those? Like, do you look for more complex stuff that's challenging, that's something you haven't seen, or is it just something like you'd rather just kind of handle a standard ranch? You're like, I can figure this out pretty quickly.
I mean, I like when there's complexity, right? But when I'm looking at plans, I actually store some ideas for a personal build someday. So I think that's what's kind of cool about our job, is that we get to see so many different plans for so many different builders and customers and stuff, that while we're doing the same thing every day, it's not really the same thing every day, because you're working off a different plan for a different builder, providing different options and stuff. So changes it up day to day.
Do you get, I don't know if Tyler's the same way. Is that just in a notebook? Is that in a notes app? Is that just in your head?
I got a notes app on my phone, I think, and a lot of it's in my head. I mean, I express it to my wife when I go home.
Does she have a Pinterest board, or do you have the Pinterest board?
I don't have a Pinterest board, but it's kind of like that in my head, I guess.
Yeah. So what would be one or two things that if tomorrow morning you're going to break ground, your house is going to have what in it that maybe isn't like super secretive, but just something that you're like, that'd be kind of cool to have?
I'm a big angled garage guy off the side of the house. I like a single story ranch, right? And then I got to have stairs from my garage to my basement.
Ooh, yep.
So
I like that too.
Those are kind of just some main.
Tyler, you got anything?
The stairs from the garage to the basement would be big, and I've seen the trophy rooms and the safe rooms in the basement. That would be really nice. I actually just had a plan here the other day that had an office in the basement that was, I think, like 20 by 22, and then I had a trophy room off of that. That would be nice.
Yeah,
that'll
work out.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. I mean, I've always been like a huge man cave person, and I think like house plans are the same thing. Like, just always finding something you're like, oh, or how right, it might just be how something was done. That is super intriguing. I guess outside of Drexel, what do you guys like? What do you guys do? Obviously, hunting came up. That is kind of a common thing within your room there, but what do you guys like to do for fun, enjoyment, kind of outside the Drexel walls?
Yeah, I guess I like to hunt and fish. It's kind of similarity, like you said, in that room. Other than that, just spending time with friends and family. We have an almost 5-month-old, so heading up to the cabin with the rest of the family means a little bit more now with all the little ones running around. So it's kind of what we do outside of work.
Nice. Where's up north at?
Minocqua.
Oh, cool. Tyler?
Hunting, a little bit of fishing, snowmobile, anything outside pretty much is always fun. Like Mitch was saying, he had a little one. Our little guy just turned 1, so we just had a party for him not too long ago. Thank you. It's been a long road to get to that, so everything just means a little bit more. And yeah, spending time with family. We go up by my parents, go by my wife's parents and stuff like that. And yeah, it's nicer with the little guy now, and just seeing him grow and doing more stuff with him is nice. I can't wait to get him out in the deer stand.
Right. What is the best place to eat in Amherst?
Dang.
And what is it that you're eating? What is it you're eating that makes it the best?
Whitetail.
Yeah.
The Stella Burger. It's pretty good the other day.
Shout out the Stella Burger. Yeah, they look pretty good. I don't know. I guess I don't go out too much in Amherst, but Whitetail's a solid pick. Ambrosia's a good pick, but I'd probably go with Whitetail.
Which one's got better pizza? Or are they both kind of a toss-up that way?
I'd say they're comparable.
I've never had pizza.
Yeah, I think Whitetail's pizza is pretty solid, though. It might have the upper hand.
Okay. Favorite sports team?
Green Bay Packers.
I'd have to say the Packers.
What is one thing you need to check off your bucket list before you die?
A hunting trip out west.
Specifically,
Elk or going to Alaska for moose.
okay. Have you been to Alaska at all?
I have not.
No? Okay.
I think mine would be something similar, at least out west and elk, just because it seems so different to me. I mean, mountains and not flat land around here, so.
What, being that it's 2025, and it's February, what would be your walk-up song? If Drexel played a walk-up song every day you walked into work on Friday morning, and I don't know if you guys work Friday mornings, because you guys might be on 410s, but if you had a Friday morning to walk in with a walk-in song, a walk-up, what would it be? You can only change it once a year. So it's not like you can change it weekly or monthly, it's got to be once a year.
That wasn't in the list of questions. I had so many queued up.
Trying to think of some of the songs that I listen to now.
I don't know if I have a title, but I'd put it'd either be Wallen and Post Malone. One of those songs that's mixed together somewhere in there.
Speaking of, did you see the Post Malone news that came out? So Post Malone and Travis Barker from Blink-182
Sure.
are going to do a vinyl album of all Nirvana covers,
That would be
which I thought was
interesting.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I just saw that on Twitter the other day and it looked legit. So, but Tyler,
Trying to think here. I would probably go with Brantley Gilbert, maybe Kicking in the Sticks.
okay,
I like that one.
okay. Ask this one to Todd and CJ. It just happened last Sunday. If you guys were in charge of Super Bowl halftime, what would be the performance that you would choose? Because I didn't watch the halftime performance. I do listen to some Kendrick Lamar, but man, there were comments galore all over the place, good and bad. So if you're trying to make America happy again, as we once said here at Drexel, and trying to appease as many people as you could, who would be your halftime performance? I'm really getting specific here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I would probably go with, and I'm a big country guy and rock guy, so I would probably go with either a Luke Combs or Post Malone.
I think that's very fair.
that's pretty solid picks, honestly. I don't think you can go wrong with Post Malone.
No.
He can
do anything.
It's pretty rangy, so I'd probably pick Post Malone.
I was not really, I guess, down with him going into country, but after he produced the stuff,
Yeah.
I was like, actually, it sounds better than most of the country
Yeah,
stuff I
good.
listen to nowadays.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Last question, I guess, before we go to Billboard. If you had to have dinner with two individuals, dead or alive, anybody in the world, who would it be? Could be family, could be famous people, musicians, sports people.
I'd probably pick both my grandpas. And where we would eat, just be somewhere that's got a big steak. Doesn't really matter.
Nice.
And just with those two, though.
Those are two solid ones. I didn't get to know mine very well, so I think my two grandpas would be a very good choice.
Nice. All right, well, to finish up, and I think I mentioned this to you guys in the email. If not, this is another one we're not going to be prepared
I got
for.
this from watching one of your.
All right,
podcast,
so the Billboard, I think this came from Tim Ferriss, who wrote a ton of books and has a newsletter. I think he had a Billboard thing on his podcast, and that's where Joel stole it from. But if you got one billboard, it's on the most famous highway that everybody would see. What would it be? Would it mean something about family, life, work, whatever? Could say as many words as you want or as few as you want. Start with Tyler.
It's something my mom always says. It would be, everything's going to work out. It has annoyed me certain times. However, it always works. Everything works out.
I like that because we just had on, I don't know what podcast it was, but somebody recently, it was Sam Paulette, was the last one we did. A new QB from Kiel just said, you're not the main character, which I thought is very similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to work out. I think we take everything, a lot of things really personally, right? Where you're even stuff that stresses you out, that's the smallest thing in the world, right? So Yeah, like can't get to Phillips for A&W, stressed out. Tyler, or Mitch, sorry.
Yeah, mine would be, my college coach used to say this a lot, and you're never as good as you think you are, but you're also never as bad as you think you are. So, at least in baseball and in life, I mean, when you're hot and you're on a heater, it's like you can't miss, right? But be humble. But also, when you're in a slump, it's like just grind through it. You're going to get through it. There's brighter days ahead. So he always used to say that, and I didn't really understood what he said when he was saying it. But then I had my fair share of slumps, and I was like, I think I get what he's saying. So
yeah,
you're never as bad as you think you are, but you're also never as good as you think you are. You can flip it either way.
Very true. Awesome. Well, episode 123, we are out.